Hello everyone, it's Myrick, and once again I wanted to take a look at a Deadlock Fight Night replay. This time it's going to be about the best team in NA, HydraNation, and what they did to close out the series when they were pushed to map 3 for the first time. They got off to an early lead. As we can see, it ballooned pretty big, and then there were some small missteps in the mid-game that closed the gap. But they were still able to end the game in 20 minutes. So let's take a look and see how they were able to do that. The first thing that I want to discuss is the drafting out of HydraNation and the change of focus onto early game lane dominant heroes. So earlier in the series, Quig was on Dynamo, they had Infernus, they had Seven, they had people that really need to scale and get to late game. And this was not the case in this game. They have Quig on Kelvin, who is a lane bully. They have the weakest laner they have is Warden. Everyone else is strong in lane, very strong in lane, or in Abram's case, is just good at going neutral. But as you can see, this Mirage can just basically solo bully this lane despite having Warden. Even though Warden is sort of a weak lane, if he has a strong laner with him, he can do pretty well. Meanwhile, if we look at the comp from, or the lane specifically, out of LLama Lords here, Dynamo plus Ivy, is, I really tried thinking about it, I cannot think of a weaker duo in lane. I don't think Dynamo is necessarily always bad in lane. There are definitely lane duos where he can be strong, but when he is in a weak lane or a lane that's behind, he is just so useless and bad. So this is, I don't know. I really would like to see if anyone can think of a weaker lane duo. I really cannot think of one. So they just get absolutely bullied. They have no prio. They're getting destroyed, and we're seeing the same thing in this lane. What happened here, if we back it up a little bit, level 1, the 7 had to go back. He just gets rolled on by Quig. Quig gets a nice nade plus melee on him. And he literally has to go back after one wave. So both of these mid lanes have lost all of their prio. The lanes are not totally over, but they have absolutely no prio to speak of for the next several minutes. Bare minimum. So to talk about what prio means, prio is just a general MOBA term, priority. When you shove your wave to the enemy tower and they have to sit under tower farming, it gives you time to go do things. There are a few things you can do. The number one thing you can do is go farm. So you go push your lane and then go take your own jungle farm. Number 2 thing you could do is invade enemy jungle, either stop them from farming or even kill them in the jungle. That's also really good. And the third thing that you'll typically do is go to another lane to pressure them, to try and get kills, or to just take their guardian. Okay. So that's why prio is so important. That's why being on the back foot in these lanes is such an issue when it's this extreme, especially in the duo lanes. And we're going to see why the duo lanes are so much more impactful than others. Okay. And again, they're just stuck under tower. They're already behind in farm. It's not unwinnable, but it's a big issue. Okay. And now here's a really important moment where the control of the lane and the prio snowballs into a more meaningful lead. So here, Kelvin and Yamato have crashed the wave, and Seven and Paradox do not know where they are. They have no idea where they are. Even if they aren't actively going to do something, you don't know where they are, so you have to be afraid. You have to be cautious. And Seven here is not cautious enough. So let's look at Sizz. So Sizz is like, okay, they just cleared the wave. They probably went to go do something. The new wave has come. Let me just farm this wave real quick. They're finally not in my face trying to kill me. And Kelvin just ice paths on him, nade, and he just can't do anything. He is instantly dead. So that is absolutely brutal. Meanwhile, Lord is also dying in his lane. I'm not sure. The 7 death was understandable. This one, I don't really know what's going on. They are, again, very much on the back foot, getting harassed under tower. So Lord comes to do something that I think is a good play, just to take a different angle that they have to deal with. throw your little kudzu to cull the wave a little bit. I am just very confused on the repeak. The repeak is just definitely not allowed. This is entirely illegal. And as you can see, he's going to die as well. So now we're in a situation where it's not just prio, it's not just some denies. You're getting killed under tower, and it's a big, big problem. So what do we see from here? 7 clears a wave, and they call, it's time to swap lanes. We can't keep these lanes. We have to do something, but... and this is a good realization to make, but they've just made it too late. And what happens as a result is the prio has been established by Kelvin and Yamato, 7, who just ran away from this duo diving tower. They shoved their wave and then just come to the other mid lane tower to try and dive again. And 7 gets this stun off and thinks that means he can farm a jungle camp. That is not the case. And he is just going to die. These 4 people are going to kill both laners and take this Guardian at 5.5 minutes. So the game is officially blown open. Yamato needs to go back to catch a wave. We have HydraNation stealing a camp. We have Flick coming over to steal a camp. So this is just a huge swing of power and options coming out. Okay? And what we're going to see is a transition from HydraNation and Vegas. So what's going to happen is HydraNation is going to stay in this lane, and he's going to do what we talked about. He's going to catch waves, and then he's going to go farm jungle in between waves. And because he can shove so much further, because the Guardian is down, he can shove all the way to Walker. He has a lot of time in between those waves to go back and get the farm. Meanwhile, Vegas goes and duo lanes with the Abrams to pressure the side lanes because there's no reason to have 2 people here. We're not going to push the Walker. There's no Guardian to take. So I might as well go somewhere else where I can get some value. We also see Dynamo rotating for a similar reason, right? There's no reason to have 2 people in this lane. There's nothing to defend. They're never going to come push your Walker, so why have 2 people here? Okay? But the Mirage is able to get extra value. They find this dive onto Infernus, which is just insane. Very deep, instant dive. And then he immediately is able to teleport with his ult to the other side lane. So they keep control of both side lanes. They're able to get a kill in one, deny the enemy play in the other. And the only thing they're really losing on the map is a wave crashing here. 7 did manage to crash a wave. That's basically the only loss that they're taking. But Yamato and Kelvin very quickly rotate back and don't allow more than 1 wave to crash. So this early game dominance that Mirage specifically gives you, Vegas takes great advantage of. And it doesn't stop here. I really like this early reactive, by the way. It's very good against all the CC on the enemy team, but it's also very good to be able to aggressively TP in as Mirage. They can't CC you when you come out of your TP, but we see here just very aggressively fighting under tower. And if we just speed up for a second, he's going to come right back and pop. So he has killed both side laners now, given them huge advantages on these side lanes. Now, while we were looking at this, let's see, I think it's around 7:10 I want to look at. Let's look at Naked, okay? So what's happening here... Oh, yeah, maybe I went a little too far forward. Let's back up just a second. So Naked knows that there were 4 people in the side lane just a moment ago, and they're going to want to catch this wave mid, so they're going to go to the mid wave, and he is just waiting for an opportunity to use his black hole. He's playing high ground. We're going to see him do this a lot this game, third-person peek on high ground. But as we see, the Yamato just walks by, the Kelvin walks by. They are looking to pressure this 7, either look for a dive, pressure Guardian. I'm not sure which one they were exclusively looking for here. But very classic move. Dynamo able to show up and try and prevent this dive. The 7 still does die because Yamato is invulnerable to CC. But as you can see, the Paradox is here, and the Infernus is also here. So the first sort of misstep we see from HydraNation, I do think it's more of a good play from Naked than it is a bad play from HydraNation, but they did not have enough information to be committing that hard under the tower for the 7. I think pressuring him or pressuring Guardian you could probably get away with, but going that hard I don't think was ever going to be a winning play for them. Meanwhile, like we said, Vegas is killing that side lane, and this side lane, they are looking for a pick. We don't get the pin, otherwise maybe this would have materialized. The Ivy is going to be able to just fly away with ult, I believe. Yes, the ult comes out. So Lord ults, is trying to clear everything, and just hold the tower as long as possible. Okay, so now what we're seeing, let's go back to Quig here. So this is when we're resetting onto the map, okay, and we're at the 8-minute mark. So we're getting close to this first urn. So what's important is that we're going to see both teams here, and we can already see it starting, transition out of the default 1-2-2-1 lane assignments to instead go to a 2-1-1-2, okay? And controlling these side lanes, keeping your Guardian alive and killing the enemy Guardian is very important at this stage of the game because the urn is about to spawn. And if you have prio in these lanes, if you've killed the enemy Guardian and they're sitting under their walker, it's very easy to pick up the urn or turn in the urn, whichever one it's going to be, because we can't predict which side it's going to be. So we see this transition. We've already had 2 people in the right side lane for a while. What's going to happen here is Kelvin's just catching this wave. Then he's going to come join Wraith in the side lane. And Vegas is going to do what we saw Hydration doing in the mid lane earlier, but on the other side where he's just going to catch waves, then go farm jungle, catch waves, then go farm jungle. Okay? Because a lot of their right camps are down. All their left camps are still up. So they've got some camps to clear here. Okay. So this makes perfect sense, right? Quig rotating over. He's doing a similar thing. He wants to see if he can pull off what he did on the 7 earlier, where he just ice paths and beams you, but they don't take the bait. Still wants to play aggressive. Okay. The Paradox shows up, and at this point, it's a little sketchy, but it's not that bad. My problem here is the push we're about to see. Vegas has not had eyes on anyone for quite a while. He has no idea where anyone is. So it's very likely that this Dynamo is here. And it turns out that, yes, he is. So this is a bit too aggressive from Quig in my view. But he makes a monster play to be able to survive here. He does not die. He actually escapes. Is able to use the power of his leveled up dome, his health nova, his nade, and gets out and survives. This is insane. So despite being really overly aggressive, they survive the 3v2 situation. Meanwhile, Mirage has TP'd to the other side lane. So let's take a look at what's going on over here. Let's go to Leffa. He's doing his vaults, clears the wave, and he hears the enemy 7 doing his vaults. So he calls teammates over. They come over here. He basically just one-shots the 7. The 7 eventually dies and drops a bag, which is a huge reason why fighting inside the enemy jungle and trying to kill them is really valuable, because if they die, they drop all the souls they just farmed and they give them to you instead. Vegas ults in and is able to get onto the Ivy and kill the Ivy as well. And if we take a look at Calc is trying to do something, and Leffa is just not gonna give him any chances. So what we have here is winning on both sides of the map from HydraNation. They are able to absorb a man down gank on one side of the map. They're able to win very heavily the fight on the other side of the map, and TPs are open. So Leffa then takes this opportunity to TP and make them hard win both side lanes. Despite, I believe this Guardian dies. Yeah, it looks like it does. but they're able to get 2 kills here. The Infernus dies, and let's also take a look at Flick, who has fast zipped his way back, ults, and look at this pick onto the Paradox. Idorian, no chance. Just gets absolutely destroyed. What a huge play out of what didn't look like an opportunity from Flick at all. So they're able to overload one side of the map, then instantly move and overload the other to avoid getting punished from having 5 people on one side of the map. Again, the one thing they are going to lose here is there is a single wave that 7 has been able to crash into the tower. Okay, so let's take a look. The urn has just spawned, so the side lane control allows them to get the urn. They already have full control of this lane after the kills, so they're going to take the tower as well. Okay, Vegas is keeping control on this side lane. And this is the perfect situation, right? The first urn, even though they are up like a 25% lead, the first urn is always neutral, no matter what. So this early side lane control, extremely valuable, extremely important. And that has been maintained. And what we're going to see here is, I mean, realistically, I don't think this should be fightable without a really huge outplay from Llama Lords. I understand not wanting to give it up because, as you see, once they turn this urn in, the lead looks insurmountable. But you have to be really smart in your setup. You have to do something really good to come up with an advantage here. And instead, we're going to see Naked not respecting their map control, the enemy's map control at all, and just wandering in somewhere with no stamina. And just dies. And can't really do anything. You know, tries to get out, but goes down. And this is just going to lead to the urn getting turned in a longer sequence. But yeah, this is just really, really bad for Llama Lords to not only give this up, but, I mean, at least, you know, trade somewhere else on the map. But instead, they want to try and fight the urn without a good setup, and they get caught out. So Naked, who is having some really good reads on rotations earlier, was not ready for them to be in that position. Ends up going down, and here we see Wraith turning in the urn. Okay, now let's take a look at what they do once we're past this 10-minute mark. We're past this first urn, and most of the Guardians are down. Let's take a second to talk about how they transition into the mid-game. Urn has been turned in. There's not a lot left to do Guardian-wise. There's only one left up. You've already got your flex slot from it, so you can get that as it comes. So what's the best thing for us to do? Invade or look for kills, right? Either try and steal farm or kill people that are jungling. That's the biggest thing we want to do at this stage in the game to continue to grow the lead. That's exactly what we're going to see HydraNation do here. They're pushing less action for a couple minutes while they are sort of more systematic about things, just stealing farm, not needing to fight. It goes very, very well for them in general. They are just able to grow their lead, and they do something that I like here to potentially be able to maybe sneak a walker, which is instead of, if you can't catch people in the jungle because they're not jungling, you might be able to catch them on a wave if they come to farm a wave. So we have 4 people all in the area that can collapse if someone comes to this wave. The reason this does not work is Naked is actually third person peeking from a roof, very aware that a push could be coming or there could be a bait on this wave. So it doesn't work in this case, even though, again, Quig is hanging out ready to go in if someone comes to the wave. And this is, in League at least, they call this overstaying. Sometimes that's a bad thing, typically, actually, to overstay. Usually you die. But this is, they're overstaying and kind of hiding and waiting for the enemy team that comes to catch the wave and see if they can get a kill. Unfortunately, that does not materialize for them. They aren't able to get that. Now, what's happening on the other side of the map is Leffa is, again, trying to catch someone jungling. He either wants to steal this vault or knows they're about to farm it. And he goes up to take the creeps. Easy. And he's like, okay, there's an Infernus here. I want to fight them. He goes in. He has teammates with him. The Mirage TPs. Then we get a very unfortunate pause here in just a second because of Flick being stuck in the wall. But just quickly, Quig is also coming around the side to dome people so they can't escape. And it's also man advantage for HydraNation, so this is just a really good situation for them. Let me just go ahead and speed through the pause really quick. Okay. And we're just gonna see a big dive come out. Does not get black holed because of the Yamato ultimate. Nice jump out. And it's just a giant wipe, 4 for nothing. Meanwhile, actually, does it end up being 5 for nothing? I don't think it does. They cannot get the Guardian, but they just say, who cares, we'll go mid-boss. So this is a very early mid-boss because of that great play by them. And again, this all came out of just catching Infernus trying to do vaults, okay? And they're able to turn that into a fight. Everyone gets there quickly, and they turn the fight, get the mid-boss, and now we can move into how do they snowball using this buff. Now, the issue is, at this point in the game, they do have an advantage because their creeps are going to auto-push and automatically give them prio, but they can't just ignore one whole side of the map. But if we look here, it's about 15 minutes on the game clock here, and there's no one at all on the left side of the map. They have 6 people on the right side of the map, okay? And they want to pressure some walkers here. They want to use this rejuve to get some walkers. That makes perfect sense to me. I just think we could go about it a slightly different way. So what we see is, again, we have 3 people, Yamato, Warden, and Mirage, pressuring one walker. Meanwhile, we have Wraith, Kelvin, and Abrams on the other walkers. So first, they're going to take this one. But look, Infernus has just realized what's going on and speed zips to the furthest lane and says, I'm going to take my own walker. Okay, so while that's going on, we have dives happening back here. Okay, so they're able to take a walker. And likewise, we have pressure here. They rotate through and are able to get a walker. Abrams goes back to try and stop this walker trade. But it's past 14 minutes. This walker is just going to die immediately. You can't leave a walker unattended for this long. Furnace does an interesting maneuver here to keep the walker on fire and then be able to TP away. Abrams just follows him in the TP and kills him. But the other thing that's happening at the same time is Mo, who was not able to defend the blue walker, decides to just come push green, and they die to take this walker. And they are able to get it. So right now, this is looking not that bad for as far as a quick trade for Llama Lords, because they go even 2 walkers for 2 walkers. When you're this far behind, you get a flex slot out of it. You get 2 walkers worth of souls. You're liking that. But again, it's 2 walkers for 2 walkers, so it's still just an even trade. The difference maker here is that in this time, Naked has made another good macro call here, has grabbed the urn. They're able to clear out the one person trying to stop them from turning it in, get the turn in, and this urn is worth about 10k because of comeback gold. So they are now, instead of being down 30k, they're down 20k. 20k still an insane amount, but doable. The issue here comes with after the urn turn in, there is some pretty bad pathing that happens here out of the Paradox and the Ivy, where they decide to continue going this way. They have no ability to make this rotation. This is entirely illegal. So Ivy is going to die. And let's take a look at how split second the difference is in Ido's living or dying here as well. He goes to grab this, and the exact instant he tries to grab Zip, he gets shot by Vegas and dies. Now, with 2 down and Rejuve up, they're definitely going to instantly break this base. And here comes what I would consider the first major mistake from HydraNation. There are like some small things where they could have done a better version of it, or they could have been a little more aware, but it's not going to drastically impact the outcome of the game. Let's take a look at this. Actually, it'll be easier just to look at it from Naked's POV. So I am 100% confident they have to be aware that Naked has Black Hole. He has not used it. They know he has it. And he has Veil Walker here. And I believe he's had Veil Walker for a while. There's really no reason for him to buy Enchanters until he has that Veil Walker on this character. So he makes a really good Veil Walker ult play here, and it is just brutal. This is rough. You got a 4-man ult here that they had to have known was coming. Now, one thing that we see a lot with Abrams, and we'll even see later in this game, is when your ult is all the way leveled up and you can be immune, you can be unstoppable. You can just unstoppable your way out of the ult when they're first going on you, as long as you get it off in time. And then you can also end the Dynamo ult just by slamming on him and stunning him, because his ult won't interrupt you because you are unstoppable. Flick has not put enough points into that yet to have that, so he can't do that this fight. So I can't really blame him, but I don't think it's okay for Quig to be stacked up with other people at this stage when they know they have Black Hole. They know they're going to look for a Black Hole on this shrine, and he has Rescue Beam. He has nades that he can use to heal, and he has Health Nova that he could pop. Even if he doesn't want to get in range to get ulted, he could still have positioned better and potentially saved his teammates here. They do end up going down. They lose too early, and this fight is a huge potential turning point for LLama Lords. And once they are done with this fight, so between the earn turn in they just got, and then realistically they hard griefed after they turned the earn in to let their base get broken this easily, but then they were able to make a play onto HydraNation. So yeah, that's really the first, I would say, major mistake from HydraNation. Everything else is just small optimizations and awareness things, but overall they're doing very, very well. Okay, and then the next thing that's a series of mistakes, in my opinion, is around this final walker. Let's look at Vegas. This last walker in the yellow lane that we see right here, okay? So the problem here is that it's very obvious to both teams that HydraNation is going to try and take this walker. It's the only walker left. It's low HP. It'll give them a lot of map control. It'll give them that flex slot. We see them pinging it right now. They really want this walker, okay? The problem with taking this walker without heavy numbers in the area is that LLama Lords is going to have heavy numbers. This is the only important thing on the map for them to be defending. So they're going to be defending it. You can't press into this area without having people ready to rotate or having prio in other areas of the map to make people show up and fight you. If we just back up a little bit, right before this TP, and we hop onto DMB's POV, like, this is a scary place to be. This is way too far forward. You don't know where anyone on their entire team is except for Dynamo. You can't see anyone, okay? Paradox is able to make a play here. So what do we see? We see Vegas TP in to try and help. But he wants to fight. He's like, let's go. Kelvin and Wraith are not trying to fight. They are disengaging. So Vegas dies here. I'm just going to chalk this up to being on different pages because Vegas has not played with this team before. He was told he was going to play in this match the day of the match. So I don't think this is like indicative of some bigger thing, but it is obviously a mistake in this game. Now, what worries me a little more is shortly after this, we're going to see Quig, after he clears some jungle here, also come to pressure this walker, sees the paradox here, and then still runs up and goes deep, gets swapped, and just dies. Okay, so I think it's clear at this point that they are a little too antsy and anxious. They're trying to take this walker a little too fast without doing the correct steps first. And what we're going to see is Naked coming in with the speed boost on his zip. So he comes in super fast and is able to hit a big ult yet again. Now, the difference this time is the people that are caught in it, okay, have decent options in the Abrams going invulnerable and the Yamato going invulnerable. So what's going to happen is the ult ends, the Abrams comes down and stuns him right at the end of the ult and during the Infernus ult, so that the Wraith, who has TP, and the Mirage, who has Tornado, can get out and avoid the refresher into the second ult. So it turns out this second ult, the only people in it are an unstoppable Abrams and an unstoppable Yamato. So the second ult doesn't accomplish anything because of the good stun by Abrams and the instant escape from Wraith and Mirage. And then what we're going to see here is just losing the long fight because it is a 5v6 and because the Dynamo is just stuck out of position. 7 is again crashing a wave while other people are fighting. But HydraNation is going to come in with Kevlar and Leap, get the cleanup, take the walker, and off of this fight they are going to be able to push and end the game. Hopefully this look at HydraNation gave you some takeaways when watching other pro games or playing your own games about how to play for early game, what to do to snowball an early game and a mid-game lead, you know, using things like prio, controlling those side lanes for earn control, you know, fighting in the enemy jungle, and maybe a few things about how to clean up the mid-game and the late mid-game and breaking the walker line, breaking the base, things like that. As always, please show support to Deadlock Fight Night on Twitch and Deadlock DFN on Twitter. Thank you so much to them for holding these events every week and supporting the grassroots Deadlock community, especially having those replay codes public so we can dive in. Thank you so much. And if you guys have any matches you'd like me to take a look at or any feedback, I'd appreciate it in the comments. Thank you.